All right, everybody, I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both published by Simon & Schuster Saga Press. Today, we are going to be reviewing Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. You know, we always begin these videos, these book reviews, by reviewing the cover, because you know I love graphic design and I love illustration. So let's take a look at this bad boy. Oh yeah, that cover's dope. You know, I love the font here. I love the text. I love the George R.R. Martin quote. I love that it's at the bottom and the image is at the top. We got the ravens, we get the sword, and if you can even look, I don't know. There's little drops of blood flinging from her hand. Those little touches that are great. Now, I tried to see who was the illustrator of this. And it just mentions like a collaborative effort of a lot of people. So it's basically the graphic design team at Orbit Books and a lot of other designers. There's no real one illustrator that's given credit to it. It's just, it's kind of like it's a joint effort, people. They did it by committee. That's okay, because it worked out. Most things done by committee are dog shit, but this is actually pretty and good. I like it. What's this book about? You know, if you've been following my channel, you know I reread Joe Abercrombie's The First Law trilogy, and I left us some reviews for you up on my channel somewhere. And you can find those. And now we're into his standalone books. I'm going to be reading this standalone. And then the, what do we got here? The Red Country, The Heroes. And then we'll get into his second trilogy here soon. But I wanted to read them all in order. Okay, so what is this about? I just want to read the back jacket copy, because the back jacket copy, this is some of the best back jacket copy I've ever read. This is some of the best promotion I've ever read for a book right here. There have been 19 years of blood. The ruthless Grand Duke Orso is locked in a vicious struggle with the squabbling League of Eight. And between them, they have bled the land white. I don't know what that means. They bled the land white. I've heard bled the land dry. I've heard bled the land red. I don't even know. But they bled the land white. While armies marched, heads rolled, and cities burned. And behind the scenes, bankers, priests, and older, darker powers play a deadly game to choose who will be king. War may be hell, but for Monza, the Snake of Talons, the most feared and famous mercenary in Duke Orso's employ, it's a damn good way of making a living. Her victories have made her popular, a shade too popular for her employer's taste. You know, I'm a Raiders fan. This reminds me of the Oakland Raiders. You know, Al Davis was kind of the king of the Raiders. He owned the Raiders. He started the Raiders. He was the Oakland Raiders. And any time any coach or player started to outshine him, he'd trade him or fire him or make their life miserable. You know, John Madden got too big as the Raiders coach, both literally and figuratively. And Al Davis said, I think it's about time you retire, because I don't think you understand. I'm the star. Al Davis, the owner of the Raiders, is the star of the Raiders. And then, you know, we got Marcus Allen came along, Ken Stabler came along, and then Marcus Allen came along, and Marcus Allen became a massive superstar. Oh, and Al Davis couldn't take that. He had to make Marcus Allen's life miserable. And then John Gruden came along the first time. John Gruden became a huge star. Al Davis is like, we can't have that. We can't have anybody outshine me. I'm the Raiders. John Gruden isn't the Raiders. I'm the Raiders. So out goes John Gruden to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, John Gruden's back as the Raiders coach, but Al Davis has passed on. I love Al Davis. Don't get me wrong. I'm picking on the guy a little bit now. He was a bit of a narcissist, but he was a damn good football owner, and he was the Raiders. He was correct. He was the Raiders. It's Al Davis Stadium. I mean, everything about the Raiders. Well, apparently, there's the Al Davis of Joe Abercrombie's fantasy world doesn't like that Monza has become a great fighter and is sort of becoming more popular than he is. I mean, he's the king. He can't have this. He can't have the Monza being just a badass warrior and people like cheering her on. He's like, nah, ain't gonna happen. Not on my watch. Anyway, so Monza is betrayed, tossed off a cliff, thrown down a mountain, tortured, and left for dead. Left with naught but a broken body and a burning hunger for vengeance. Whatever the cost. People must die. Her allies include, so what's happening is, we'll keep going with the Raiders theme, Marcus Allen, the famous running back, became the face of the Raiders in the 80s. And Al Davis was like, that ain't happening. He's just a mercenary working for me. So he benched him. He brought in Bo Jackson and benched Marcus Allen. And then benched Marcus Allen for like 6 years. And Marcus Allen finally got out of his contract and went to the Chiefs. Then he exacted his revenge, right? He exacted his revenge on Al Davis by just... Every time the Chiefs played the Raiders, Marcus Allen had the best game of his career. So that's what we got going on here. So Monzo, this female warrior, gains lots of fame. The king has her tortured and thrown off a cliff and left for dead. But she's not dead. She survives. And then she, like Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, she goes out to exact her revenge on everyone who's done her wrong. Everyone who betrayed her in the whole string of betrayals that made the king want to kill her. And so she's like, everybody, like, kill Bill. Well, I will kill Bill, is what she's saying. I'm going to do it. And one of the things that's cool about this book is I consider Joe Abercrombie the Quentin Tarantino of fantasy. If you read his books, the dialogue is delicious. Oh, it's fun to read. It sparks. It's like lightning off the page. It just comes and strikes you in the heart. It just, I love great dialogue. I love that Elmore Leonard dialogue. I talk about the Elmore Leonard thrillers that were inspiration for Quentin Tarantino, like the Jackie Brown. Elmore Leonard wrote Jackie Brown and Quentin Tarantino turned that into a movie. Quentin Tarantino ought to get into fantasy books. And I think the first one he should turn into a movie is Best Served Cold. Because he would do dynamite with this dialogue. He'd probably even punch it up, dial it up even to 11, because Abercrombie's got it at a 10. I think between the two of them, we could have a Tarantino fantasy. Tarantino does a lot of Westerns and he knocks it out of the park. And, man, he could start doing fantasy. This would be the place I'd start. Because it's like Kill Bill. Our Lady Monza, she gets her friends like Shivers and a whole bunch of other cast of off. I'll read the cast of characters. So Monza's allies include Styria's least reliable drunkard, Styria's most treacherous prisoner. Styria, by the way, is the fantasy land we're dealing with. Okay, so her allies include the least reliable drunkard, the most treacherous poisoner, a mass murderer assessed with numbers, and a Northman who just wants to do the right thing. And that's the crew she gathers together to go out on her quest for revenge, to kill the king. Now, keep in mind, he is the king. So her enemies, as the back jacket says, her enemies number better than half the nation, because she's got to fight the entire king's army to get to the king. But the king has plans of his own and has hired. He found out that the lady didn't die. He had her tortured. By the way, that's a great scene at the very first of this novel. Is the opening scene is when the king has her tortured and tossed out of the castle and down the cliff. It's a great opening scene. Absolutely great opening. One of the best opening scenes I've ever read. But anyway, the king finds out she didn't die. She didn't die. She didn't go away. She, like Marcus Allen, going to the chiefs, arising from the dead to come back and torture poor Al Davis. We got Monza rising from the dead to come back and torture the poor king who couldn't stand that she was more famous than him. So what does he do? What do you think he does? He sends out the land's most talented assassin to hunt her down. So not only is Monza seeking revenge throughout this whole book on all the people, like how Kill Bill went. Kill Bill, it was like, she had to find the Black Mamba, she had to find the rattlesnake, she had to find the Sidewinder. I don't know if those are the characters in Kill Bill, but I think it's close. But you get the point. She had to kill all these different people that were Bill's henchmen that helped to torture and kill her. And now Monza has to do the same thing with all of the baddies in this universe that helped the king torture and kill her. And so that's what the story's about. That's the plot. Needs to be a Tarantino movie. I think it would be fantastic. Best served cold. I thought these books were dynamite. If you watch my reviews of those, I love rereading those. And, rereading this one again was an absolute delight. I loved every minute of it. I drank in every single word, every bit of dialogue. This thing is just it's a fantasy, and it's a revenge fantasy. And I dug it. I loved it. I think it's dope. Thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. I'm going to give this thing 9.5 out of 10. Let's give it a 9.75 out of 10. It's just that incredibly good. I love it from top to bottom.